he's also made it clear that his way is above our way. His mind does not work the way our mind works. His mind works perfectly. Who out here's mind works perfectly? But it's crazy, like, no one would be so arrogant to actually say when asked that question, oh yeah, I get it right all the time. Yet, look at how often we don't go to God as if that's really the case. We don't check with him as if we remember the fact that we need to be checking with him. That's why the Bible also says that our heart is deceitfully wicked and it desires to do evil continuously. We have to understand the condition of our flesh. Your flesh never at any point is okay with nor has any desire to please God whatsoever. Now, for those of us who are born again, yes, our spirit, the spirit of life that God breathed inside of us, that desires to please God. And now it is at war with this flesh. But the flesh is not going to commit suicide. Your flesh is not just you're not going to wake up and just your flesh ain't active. That's why God has commanded us that we have to put it to death. It's not going to kill itself. Matter of fact, especially in the world that we live in now, how is it going to die when we feed it so well? Our flesh be eating good nowadays. You know, for real. I mean, you can try your hardest, and even with the media and just the things that you'll see just walking down the street, your flesh it's a buffet out here of sin for the flesh to feed on. So we got to guard our heart, we got to guard our mind, we got to guard our eyes. And for a long time, I didn't understand these things.
A lot of people, they always ask me, like, when I got saved, you know what I'm saying? And I've grown to understand that throughout my life, like, God actually been saving me since I was born. I grew up in a super strict, like, religious, home. For me, Christianity was more about like rules and regulations, not necessarily like personal relationship. I didn't really understand God to be personal. I just looked at him kind of like how you would look at a police officer in your community or something. Like, it's somebody who enforces rules, but it's not anybody that you really want to kick it with. And we moved around a lot when I was a kid, never really having any deep roots in any community or any social circle, like constantly being uprooted. Like, it was really hard for me. Every new environment you were put in, you got treated a certain way. And my heart would always be crushed because all I ever wanted was love. All I ever wanted was people to accept me. And just being treated so evil, like over time, it started to harden my heart. What ended up happening when I moved to Sacramento was I had made a friendship with a young kid in New Mexico when we lived out there. That friendship meant a lot to me because I didn't have a lot of friends, you know what I'm saying? And he ended up dying soon after I moved away. When I was 13 years old, he died in a car accident. And I already wasn't really good at like expressing my pain in a positive manner. I had developed a habit of self-mutilation. I always had suicidal thoughts as a kid. I just knew I was always hurting and angry, and it was growing worse and worse and worse. And so when my bro died, that's when I kind of just like let go of any care about life or my future or anything like that. I just kind of like just fell into an abyss, That's the first time I started self-medicating, really young, 12, 13 years old, stealing bottles of NyQuil out the store, walking around drinking them, started smoking weed, snorting prescription pills and, different things like that, just anything to try to numb myself. I started drinking, really young. And I felt that desire for acceptance. I started hanging around with local gang members and stuff like that. And the Damus, the Bloods, they actually took me in, and treated me like, their version of family. And once again, not understanding God's love and what true love really looks like, the world was able to lie to me. These streets was able to lie to me and suck me in with that false sense of brotherhood and fellowship. And my parents didn't really know what was going on with me because they're not from that lifestyle. The enemy was able to use me to bring some of these generational curses into the family, and I'll forever regret that. And I just was constantly going to people who didn't care about me for advice, and they were kind of, advising me deeper and deeper into my own destruction. And I remember my depression had got so bad, me and my father ended up having a conversation where I pretty much denounced the Christian faith, the Christian culture, because it was a major part of my household. I really felt like, if he's so good, then why are we suffering? Well, if he loved me so much, why do I feel like nobody loved me? So what I did was that night after that conversation, I was just so beat up and at that point so demonically influenced, I walked into my room and I ended up putting my gun to my head. And in the moment of having that gun to my head, man, sitting on my bed, man, the Holy Spirit straight, fell on me. And I felt like this overwhelming sense of love and peace and acceptance. You cannot deny that feeling. You know what I'm saying? And it literally reached through my body, man, and it touched my heart and it changed me. The God of the Bible that I always thought was this impersonal, fake entity that either he wasn't real or he just didn't care about us. That God, man, he came out them pages, he came off them pictures, them fake pictures on the wall and all of this stuff that we have misrepresenting him, man, and he jumped into my real life and he really touched my heart. And the evidence of that was I was changed from the heart though, not just my behavior. My behavior changed because my heart had changed. Where in my past, when I was feeling isolated, I didn't feel like God was personal. So I felt like I was in this black hole by myself. Now I don't feel that way. Now, God's like literally with me, in me, around me, like everywhere I go. And I felt his presence and it was deep. My pops, his best friend at the time was a brother named Ron Canoli, who was one of the biggest praise and worship leaders in the 90s. And he had sons, and me and his sons actually grew up together in the Bay. When I finally made the switch to come to the Lord, they were kind of waiting there with open arms to kind of embrace me and introduce me into, this music thing, because I had also made a name for myself, as a young upcoming rapper or whatever. And so I wanted to use, now that I recognized I had this gift, I wanted to use it to glorify God. It was a real burning desire in me to take what I had given to the devil and take it back and give it to the one I should have been giving it to the whole time. Went back home to Cali, and a couple weeks later, I'm sitting in jail and, stressing over that and fighting this case, and then really realizing how cold the game is, because the same people who were cheering me on, like now that I had did this, they was acting like, I was the devil incarnate or something because I made a mistake. And that really hurt me. I allowed that offense. I can't blame them for how I responded to it, but I allowed that offense of being kind of shunned for a mistake to really grow and give me an excuse to kind of like go back to the comfortable place of a hardened heart that I had before. And so for 10 years, I lived with this huge chip on my shoulder. And a lot of it was triggered when I was a kid. Myself and a bunch of other kids was molested, by church people. It took me back to that, of just being betrayed by people who are claiming to be people of God. I got heavier into the drinking. I got heavier into the drug abuse. And I always had one foot in, like I knew the truth, but at the same time, I had no fellowship. I didn't even have a real deep understanding of the gospel. I just knew God had touched me. But I was making music and I was putting it out, but I was from the heart. My biggest thing was I just want to tell the truth. Like whether people feel like it's right or wrong, this is where I'm at right now. I don't want nobody looking up to me. I don't want nobody thinking that I'm the way to go, because I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I myself need a savior. I used to tell people all the time, don't try to be like me. I don't even want to be like me. Let's get to Christ together. So my music was meant to be that bridge, you know what I'm saying, for people who were kind of stuck in limbo like I was. And so I ended up starting a ministry called HOG MOB that was kind of modeled after almost like being a Christian gang, where the HOG MOB acronym standing for Hooked on God, Ministry Over Business. But I was very immature in my faith and I made a lot of mistakes. And so after 10 years of just living in this terrible cycle, I ended up moving out of state. I had got this girl pregnant with me. She was having twin boys, man. I ended up moving out of state to, go see if I can find a better way to provide for them by legal or illegal means, whatever happened. And when I went out there, she ended up getting in a car accident and my twin boys died. And the same day, my little bruh, who 3 days before that, I was with him. And God had told me to preach the gospel to him. But I had so much secret sin in my life, I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? I failed him miserably. And I thought we had more time. In my mind, I was like, well, let me just, I'll be positive with him right now and tell him something positive. And then I'm gonna go live a little bit better so I could be a better example. And then a few weeks later, when I got some good time underneath me, then I'll come back and I'll, share the gospel with him. And we didn't have 3 weeks, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have 3 days. And the same day that my kids died in that car accident, later on that night, my little bro got smoked. He got his brain knocked out his head, gangbanging. And I actually had to listen. He died on the phone while the homies was talking me through it. And there was nothing I could do, you know what I'm saying? And I live with that every day of my life. This is my little bro, like we was super close, you know what I'm saying? And the last thing I told him was a lie. I told him, the last thing I said to him was, I love you. But I didn't, because if I really loved him, I would have told him about Jesus Christ, and I didn't. That's one of the things that really fuels a lot of like my desire to like make it known, like there's nobody in my life now, no more. Like if you hang around me, you're gonna get that gospel. You're gonna have to reject it because I'm not gonna not give it to you. You're gonna have to say no to God, you know what I'm saying? But you're gonna know his word, you're gonna know his truth. For me, that kind of like sparked something. I remember when, as soon as they told me he was dead, I dropped to my knees in the alley. I just cried out to God and I was like, whatever you gotta do, man, to change me. You know what I'm saying? I just failed my brother. I felt worthless. Like, I'm no good at being a gangster no more because you changed my heart, and I can't even get this ministry thing right because I don't got the heart to do what it's needed to do sometimes because I'm still too concerned about people loving me and caring about me and being accepted that sometimes I shy away from preaching the gospel, man, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. Just lost my kids, I couldn't even be a father. I couldn't protect them from that. So I just dropped to my knees, man, and I said, whatever you gotta do, to bring me to my knees, whatever you gotta do to cause me to completely surrender to you, do it. And he said, I just did. And the message was clear, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't in control, I wasn't in charge. There was something greater than me, and I need him in my life in order to get through this. That's one of the major steps towards where I'm at today, was that day. And then shortly after, one of my brothers in the faith came on tour with me, and he actually sat down, he opened up the word, man, and he shared the gospel with me, like from the Bible though, you know what I'm saying? I never really had that. I've heard like children's stories or people telling it, but actually to open it up and systematically take me through from my depravity, all the way through to God's grace, man, and even him preserving me in this process and stuff. I'd never heard that. I never knew about the sovereignty of God. It actually like caused me to like almost like feel this anger towards God. I actually like prayed and because it was late at night, I went and laid down and I said, okay, Lord, this is what's up. I'm finna go to sleep, and if I wake up hating you, I'm gonna assume that you don't want me as your child. You know what I'm saying? And that you've basically, whatever, grieved you to the point to where you've let me go. And I said, but if you change my heart and I want a burning desire, I want a relationship with you like something I've never known. It's since the day you touched me when I had that gun to my head. Like I want a burning fire and passion for you, your word, your spirit, your presence, and all these different things. That's so undeniable that I can't even resist it. Like it overrides my flesh. That's what I asked the Lord for. And I actually went to sleep, man, and I woke up and I've never been the same, never. I was reading for like 10 hours a day. Like I was craving to scream. It was like I was having my food for the first time. Like it was a crazy experience, and he honored that prayer because once again I came to him honestly. You know what I'm saying? And so from there on, I really started realizing like the importance of people having people who not just preach at them from a pulpit, but actually who are willing to walk and do life with them. So that's what the Lord kind of has encouraged me and taught me and molded me into being for a lot of brothers. So now with HOG MOB, as before it was just kind of like this ragtag group of dudes who, you know, we claimed God but didn't really know him that well and different things like that. Like now the Lord has, as he's matured me, he's also matured the ministry around me to where now we're a global discipleship network. I myself have kind of taken on, you know, the role of becoming a domestic missionary and being developed and groomed for that. I gave up my home, you know what I'm saying? I don't even, right now, I don't even have a place to like call home, you know what I'm saying? It's wherever God sends me today, that's, you know, what it is. I hear a lot of talk about, you know, radical Christianity. Radical Christianity at its basic level is radical. Anybody who's watching this, man, you know, you're not looking at somebody who went to college. You're not looking at somebody who, you know, knows the Bible from cover to cover, in and out, or went to seminary or nothing. And I'm not knocking none of those things, but what God has graced me to be able to do, I'm a validated gang member, felon. I got stamps on my passport for the gospel, you know what I'm saying? And what the Lord can do and where he can lead you and where he can take you if you just say yes. You won't be able to comprehend it. And stop trying to be radical and just embrace the Holy Spirit, man, and let him change you, and he will make you something radical, because God is radical. When Jesus Christ was on this earth, he was radical to the point they felt like they had to get rid of him because he was a problem. You know, and that's why the Lord already tells us how to deal with persecution, because it's a guarantee for all those that follow him. So I just want to encourage everybody, man, stay in that word. You know, make this stuff your culture, your practice. We can't claim that we love God, but then our appetites are worldly. Ask the Lord to deal with you with these things. If you have any addiction, the Lord can change you. What God has been able to do through this ministry, and just through one person who's nothing special, you know, my talent, this is God's talent. He put this in me. And whatever he's put in you, man, it'll work if you work at it and you put it to work, man. Serve God with whatever you have and let him take you where he wants you to go, because it's better than where you headed on your own. I promise you that. This is Sevin, and this is the truth. Now I dare you to live it.
Breakthrough Media.